Tier 1, Chapter 27.
Chapter 27. I wake up to Tal and Bentley running around. Loudly. My body aches from tension I held while I slept. Apparently, I can't will myself to truly relax with all of the unknowns rolling around like marbles in my head. Sleep is supposed to help with clarity of thought, but this morning, I still don't have any good answers. Stepping into my morning routine allows me to shove those concerns down deep. Today, I had planned to take the boys to the tech museum. Leaving the house is quite possibly the very last thing I want to do right now, but I press forward nonetheless. Tal and Bent always spend hours at that museum trying to figure out how to use the old technological devices that rotate through the hands-on exhibits. Our society needs more people to go into tech, so I am hoping the more they see it, the more likely it will light a spark of interest in them. "Hi, Mom," Bentley shouts as he catches my figure walking past their door. "Good morning, Bent." "Hey, Tal," I say, walking into the kitchen. The boys run after me. "I don't want to go to the museum today, Mom," Tal says quickly. "I think I've seen everything there. It will be a boring repeat." "It might be," I agree, "but it's been a while since we've been. You never know." I reach into the fridge for the sausage I saved for this morning. "I want to go," says Bentley. "I hope they have those square phones with the old games. I love those." "Their graphics are so bad," Tal criticizes. "Graphics don't matter. They're good games," Bentley counters. "I am sure they will have something with games," I interject. "Can you guys go wash your hands for breakfast? After we eat, we can change and get going. Tal, we don't have to stay there for a long time if you aren't enjoying it." He shoots me an appreciative smile. The boys obediently follow my instructions, and we eat as soon as the sausage is done cooking. After inhaling their breakfast, they run off to get changed. So much for not wanting to go. "I'm going to take a shower," I call after them. "We're leaving in 30 minutes. They don't respond, but I pretend they heard me as I simply do not have the energy to say it again. I hear more playing than changing coming from their room, but at least that buys me a few minutes. Being in the shower is like a swift kick to my gut. It tangibly reminds me of my last conversation with Eric. Every single day, I am tempted to unblock my sensor, to find a way to be with him. I still don't know what I am going to say when the boys start asking when he will be home again. I wash my hair and body as quickly as possible, wanting to escape this tragic space. Maybe closure would be good. The warm water washes over me, and though I know we are probably approaching our water limit for the month, I can't bring myself to care. I pull on my favorite jeans and a t-shirt, needing to be comfy today. Walking out of my room, the boys' voices reach me. They are chattering to each other. I slowly sneak up to the door, wanting to hear what they are saying without disturbing the moment. "This is your final warning," Tal says, mimicking a loudspeaker. "We are taking this city, and you can either surrender or die." "Tal, don't kill my guys. I just want to have a battle," Bentley whines. "I'm not actually going to kill them. This is how the battle starts," Tal says, annoyed. "Besides, your guys are all tier 3, so it doesn't matter if they die." My eyes widen. Where did he learn the idea that tier 3 lives don't matter? "My guys are not all tier 3. It's a mix of everyone." Bentley is getting increasingly frustrated. This isn't going to end well. "Okay, well, then I kill all the tier 2 and tier 3 people." Tal starts dropping pretend bombs. Bentley squeals, and I walk into the room hoping to mitigate the damage. "Guys, what's going on? Why are we fighting?" I ask as I pick up Bentley, avoiding his kicking legs. "Tal is killing all my guys and saying they are tier 3, Bentley accuses, crying now. "I was just trying to do the battle he wanted," Tal responds defensively. "Okay, let's take a few minutes to calm down and then we can talk about this. Tal, please get dressed so we can go. Bent, what do you want to wear today?" While the boys get dressed, I grab some snacks out of the fridge and fill up the water bottles. We hop in the car and buckle in. "Can we talk about what just happened?" I ask gently. They both nod. "How do you two think we can avoid getting into a fight next time?" Bentley could stop throwing a fit, Tal says. I see Bentley's eyes flash. Let's only talk about what we individually could do differently, not what others could do. So, what could you do to avoid a fight, Tal? I don't know. Maybe talk about the rules ahead of time? I think that's a great idea. What about you, Bentley? I didn't do anything. I just tried to play, and then Tal was making stuff up, Bentley complains. Tal scoffs. Well, what if you let Tal have a say in how the game goes? Maybe you could both get to make half the decisions? If Tal wants to kill everyone, maybe you get to kill his guys too. Or maybe only some of them die. Do you think you could discuss rules like Tal suggested? Maybe, Bentley says as he looks down at his shoes. My other question is for you, Tal. Why were you talking that way about Tier 3? What way? He asks, confused. I heard you say that it didn't matter if they died because they were Tier 3. They weren't Tier 3. They were a mix, shouts Bentley. I know, buddy. I am not talking about the game anymore, just asking Tal about his thoughts and feelings, I explain, rubbing his back. I thought Tier 3 is full of people who have bad markers. Why would it matter if they die? Tal says, honestly wondering. That's a good question, I say, trying to hide how disturbed I am by this line of reasoning. Do you know the history of Tier 3, Tal? Kind of. I know that when Berg took over, there were a lot of people who didn't want to get on board with the new system. They didn't think it was fair that certain people had access to more resources. But Mom, why would anyone be okay with not getting food or water? How could Berg expect people to just say, okay, you're right, I should starve while other people get what they need? They didn't expect that because you make a good point. Nobody would accept that. Our drive for survival is strong, regardless of whether we have a good chance of surviving or not. Our brain doesn't take that into account naturally. It wasn't a situation that anyone would have chosen to be in. To have to decide who lives and who dies is pretty terrible, but it had to be done. We had only so much food, so much water, so many safe locations, and they had to determine how to distribute those in a way that would ensure the survival of our species. Outright war among an already damaged population was the other option, and everyone knew that we wouldn't survive that. Tal and Bentley sit thinking, their brows furrowed. What would you have done? I asked Tal. I don't know. I don't think I could tell people that we were choosing for them to die. I would probably just surprise bomb them so I didn't have to make them suffer. That option was considered, actually. They didn't go through with it, but the decision resulted in a group of people who caused a lot of problems, terrorizing the Berg camps and starting small uprisings. Yeah, if you were going to die anyway from a lack of resources, why not fight? Tal says. Exactly. Those people, as terrible as it sounds, were eliminated out of necessity. There was no other option. There were, however, other individuals who didn't meet the requirements to be considered for higher resources, but they weren't actively causing problems. These are the people who became Tier 3 as we know them today. Berg decided to distribute resources in a way that gave everyone who met the marker and health requirements what they needed. Not wanted, but needed. Then, they gave whatever was left to those people who weren't qualified but who were still living peacefully outside of the safety zones. Why would they give any resources to those people? If they weren't in a safety zone, their chances of survival were low. And they shouldn't have been allowed to reproduce, Tal says, puzzled. They weren't allowed to reproduce. In order to gain their resources, they were required to undergo sterilization. What does sterilization mean? Bentley asks. It means that you can't have kids anymore, Tal says. If they were sterilized, how come we still have Tier 3 today? He asks. Great question. We don't have nearly as many Tier 3 as we did then. Also, because of Terra healing projects, new farming technology, and less population, we have plenty of resources to go around. Tier 3 isn't stuck with leftovers. They get what they need now, along with the rest of us. But back to your question, genetic pairings still aren't 100% predictable, especially when matching is at the low end. It is very common for couples in Tier 1 to end up with Tier 2 or even Tier 3 children. Sometimes their pairings are just unlucky, resulting in mutations that we can't control. And sometimes people end up having children when they haven't been approved for it. All of this combines to introduce kinks in the system. We do our best to select for the variations that will serve society in the future, but when things don't go as planned, we have a place for those people to fit. So, what do Tier 3 people do? Bentley asks as he ties and unties his shoes, happily entertaining himself. They do lots of things, often manual labor since they don't have the genetics to justify spending time on higher learning. They learn skills and trades, and they contribute to society just like we do. They are responsible for many of the raw materials that we receive in order to build, do research, and create new technologies. In exchange, they receive resources. Are they still sterilized? Tal asks. Yes, it really does have to be that way. As a society, we can't afford to build populations that aren't sustainable, or that could compromise more promising groups. Tier 3 populations are extremely low, and Tier 2 is getting lower every year. Eventually, I think the goal is to move back into an integrated society, but for now... Like there would only be Tier 1? But how is it fair not to give others a chance? Bentley demands, incredulous. But we do. We do give people chances. That's my whole job. I teach people how to heal their bodies from the inside out. Some of them repair their DNA to a point where they can actually move to Tier 1. When people are close to the cutoff, Berg doesn't require sterilization. They only require semi-permanent birth control. That allows them to work toward advancement, and eventually, if accepted, they may be able to have children. Those who are far from making the cut are still given information that helps them lead happier lives, but sterilization happens at 16 years old. It's less risky to undergo that procedure at a younger age, before body systems are set. At that point, it's already quite clear they won't be able to qualify for Tier 1. I sigh. I guess that was a really long answer to your question, but the short version is, we don't want Tier 3 people to die because they contribute without endangering society. We have plenty of resources now and aren't in a crisis situation, so there's no reason to eliminate them. These people can live full, albeit short, lives. Their existence also gives us an opportunity for service and learning. It's good for society to have diversity. Seems like Tier 3 is the place to be. No responsibilities, just food and some physical work. Can I transfer? Tal jokes. Ha ha. You would not be happy there. Your brain is coded for more. It sounds nice to be lazy, but it isn't actually fun long term. We pull to a stop, arriving at the Tech Museum. The angular facade is juxtaposed against the trees, making the leaves look even more vibrant. I am not ready to be done talking, but the boys are. They unbuckle and jump out, running through the natural grass toward the entrance.